It is Free Talk Live, and you are free to call in and talk live here on Free Talk Live, because that's what we do. It's Mark with you.
Aria.
And Melanie.
Aria sitting in with us. Thank you so much, Aria.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and actually, your show prep sounded like what I was interested in talking about. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Melanie's here. I'm looking at the wrong thing here. Melanie, there's an interesting story where twins, something happened with twins and child support, and anybody who knows anything about the genetics in twins is like, oh yeah, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, so they came out a couple of years ago and said that twins don't actually have identical DNA.
Okay,
I
thought they
really,
did.
really close. And science thought that until like 5 years ago.
Okay.
They have really, really close DNA unless you go get like the best DNA test you can find.
Okay.
Which I don't know you can purchase that commercially. You're going to come up saying you're the same person. But they are, I mean, they test different. I don't know if it's different enough.
Special scientist DNA tests can now tell the difference between twins.
Yeah, which always kind of seemed obvious to me because they look different. So
a little.
Right, but DNA is, a little different.
Yeah.
So.
I've saw some of those like showing how DNA tests online aren't exactly right. I saw a test where they did a few sets of triplets, and they did their tests and they didn't come out exactly the same.
Well, they shouldn't.
Well, probably they didn't because the tests aren't exactly accurate.
That would be my expectation, especially from online ones like Ancestry.com and 23andMe and all of those, is that they're not.
It's kind of like a Monet.
Yeah.
Well, see, in that case, and I mean, it doesn't really do a lot of good me sitting here being like, I know this about DNA, because I am not a scientist of any kind, but are the tests inaccurate, or are the conclusions that people are drawing from them inaccurate? Because I'll hear people say things like, oh, Ancestry is inaccurate because me and my brother got two different, regions. I'm like, well, that doesn't mean the DNA test is inaccurate. That means someone's assumptions about the DNA test is inaccurate. It could mean the DNA test is inaccurate, but that does not conclude that the DNA test is inaccurate.
Well, I suppose if you and your brother got different results, that you would likely be dealing with a situation where they got some DNA from one place and you got some DNA from another place. And so, okay, I can live with that.
I mean, there's also not a DNA marker for China or Eastern Europe or whatever. There's things we're making assumptions about.
Regions, yeah.
That's not a DNA fault. That's an archaeology. It's something that neither archaeology nor DNA is claiming to be able to do. But
it's just selling. It's selling a spit test to people at $100 is what it is, and people like it because they get it's better than it's better than a horoscope reading.
Well, and then that information ends up in the hands of the FBI.
Well, the one rebuttal I have to that is they had my DNA already.
Yeah, but they didn't have it from people who I think it was Ancestry.com,
right?
Who has actually been busted giving over the information to the FBI.
I'm not sure it's a bust. If you didn't think that was going to happen,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so if you have a relative who's a serial killer or a serial rapist, and you for some reason want them to stay out of jail, that would matter. I mean, they're not like busting people for weed from a 23andMe test.
Probably not
yet.
So tell me.
Yeah. So, and this is Brazil. Judge order the story is from the Huffington Post. The events occurred in Brazil. Judge orders both twins to pay child support when neither admits paternity. A pair of identical twins in central Brazil are in trouble after a judge ordered them to both pay child support for a single baby. One of the twins had a casual...
Do they have to pay half?
No.
Oh my God. This is like everybody has to put their head down until somebody raises their hands and said they did it.
So I guess if you're a completely promiscuous and lacking in all integrity, you can just go bang twins and get double child support. If you're in Brazil.
So hold on. Are we claiming that both of the twins could possibly have impregnated this woman?
Well, that would be a ridiculous scientific claim. But that's the end result of the court case, yes.
Okay, I guess my question is, did this woman have sex with both of the twins?
not that anybody's claiming.
Okay. So what made more sense to me was somebody knocked this lady up, and then like one of these twins knocked this lady up and then said, "Wasn't me. You can't prove it was me. I'm a twin." And then they're like, the judge is like, "Oh yeah? Well, you're both paying until I figure it all out."
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Please go ahead.
One of the twins had a casual fling with a woman who later gave birth to a baby girl. The woman isn't certain which twin is the dad.
Right. If you go home with drunk from a bar with somebody and, get knocked up, well, they both look a lot alike. They're twins, after all.
She didn't know the guy's name? I got to imagine they may look alike, sure, but they have different names, right?
Ever gone out to a bar and give the wrong name?
Asked. I don't know. I imagine that people who are doing this give fake names at bars. I don't know. Maybe they don't. That's just in my head. That's how that would work.
I have given fake names at bars. So there you go.
I have too, but I've never then gone on to impregnate this woman I gave a fake name to.
That's
true.
How
do you know?
Okay, I have probably not. I mean, sure, condoms are only 99% effective, but...
Well, okay, yeah, that's fair. If you're actually using birth control, then you probably did not actually get anybody pregnant.
It's also highly likely that, in my case, I'm reasonably certain I knew where the women were along the in a timeline after I've had sex with them. It's possible that I have a child out there. It's just not likely.
Yeah. Well, I guess now you can find them on Facebook and be like, okay, 8 months. 8 months later, do you look pregnant? Nope. All right, I'm good.
Yeah.
Modern problems require modern solutions.
Yes. This judge, whose name I can't pronounce, ordered the brothers, identified only as a name I can't pronounce and Fernando, to take DNA tests. Both tests came back positive, according to the New York Times, and I hope according to the DNA company.
So both brothers are guilty.
Yeah, and neither man would fess up to being the father, likely hoping to avoid paying up. The judge, who sits in the state of... somewhere in Brazil, said the two men were taking away the child's right to know her real dad. That's really interesting.
The child's in a hell of a lot better shape than I am. If a child has a right to know its real dad, then I am not having that right given to me. I'm adopted, and nobody has made any effort to tell me who my real dad is. So this child at least has narrowed down the 4 billion possible dads on the planet to 2, which is pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who either the mom doesn't know, doesn't care, doesn't want anybody to know, or just drops them off at a fire station. It's like, good luck.
Indeed.
So, yeah.
That's
an interesting right. Is adoption illegal in Brazil? I don't think so.
I would dispute with this judge as to whether or not the right to know your dad exists.
I would dispute whether or not both men were denying the child anything. I mean, one of the brothers is completely innocent of all of this, and he's just being fined now because of something his brother did.
Yeah, one of the brothers is going way out of his way to try to get this girl to know her real dad, and just not being successful.
But he won't tell. So, that's sort of a question is most people want justice, right? And most people would say that the guy who had sex with this lady paying for 18 years is, well, the analog of justice that we've got today. And
that's a warped brand of justice, though.
Well, what else do we do, right?
Well, you could not have child support at all, and then that would say to women, hey, you better watch who you get knocked up by because you're going to be on your own.
Well, there's an argument for it, right? Like the promiscuity, to some extent, is driven by court cases giving women child support, from guys that they just randomly had sex with.
Men seem to not be able to be disincentivized, I think. Let's try it with women, see if it works.
I have to agree. We have a genetic imperative to share semen. Just share. We're sharers. 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. What's your solution? I'd love to hear it. Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733. It's Free Talk Live. You are free to call in and talk live here on Free Talk Live. That's what we do. It's Mark with you.
Aria.
And Melanie.
Aria, tell me about Call to Freedom.
Well, it's a daily show. Well, Monday through Friday daily show that airs at 4 o'clock p.m.
That's called daily in the business.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you happen to be on a daily show that's on 7 days a week, but there are almost none of them otherwise. I can't think of any show in America that is daily like Free Talk Live is daily.
Okay.
But
good to know.
Yeah. There are shows where there are hosts that are on, I think, 7 days a week. Maybe Doug Steven, but not shows that are. So
Okay.
he does a different show.
Gotcha. Well, I'm new to the business, so
Daily's good.
me, yeah, let's go with daily. 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every day.
So it's live. You can call in.
It is live. We do take calls. We use a different number, 603-283-6160.
Don't confuse my people.
Well, I think it would still work if people
Don't do that either.
Okay, fair enough. Okay,
if they
sorry.
call on the studio line, I won't even see it.
Okay, so ignore that number I just said.
They don't have it.
But I recently inherited the show. It previously belonged mostly to Will Coley. It was originally a Muslim show, which is interesting because now it's
right, like Call to Freedom, like Call to Worship, but now it's sort of Call to Freedom.
Yeah, now it's just 3 atheists, all of whom are some kind of LGBT. So
there you go.
The religious aspect, that's not something that actually gets brought up. It's not like an LGBT show or anything like that.
Just happens to be the case.
Yeah.
So where do people go listen?
Twitch.lrn.fm is where I would prefer for people to listen.
Twitch.lrn.fm. Well, there you go. It's a way to listen. Let's go to the phones. We've got Free Market Penguin calling in on the Discord lines. You can, too, at discord.freetalklive.com.
Yeah, how's that audio quality?
You sound great.
Awesome.
That's why Discord's better.
It is. I wanted to talk about the Confederate statues since it was brought up. I was listening to something where it was brought up about our pertaining specifically to the Confederate statue this was what sparked that conversation, the Confederate statue smack dab in our downtown.
Where's your downtown?
In Virginia.
I'm
not going to say what city, but yeah.
Okay.
And as probably a lot of towns in Virginia, it's not Charlottesville though.
Oh, there's a Yankee statue right downtown here in Keene, so sure, happens.
Not surprising. Yep, yeah, but it's not Charlottesville, although they mentioned the Charlottesville controversy.
Sure, you can't talk about Confederate statues without mentioning Charlottesville at this point.
Yep. So when they, built the Confederate, put up the Confederate statues all over the South, memorial statues to the Confederate soldiers, Confederate generals, and whatnot, we have to look at what was the motivation behind that. They put it in front of, using the downtown, but they usually put it, not necessarily even in the city, but they put it in front of the courthouse, the seat of power. Uh-huh. And they kind of an act of intimidation, saying, we're in charge, we're in the seats of power. And if they didn't put it in front of the courthouse, they put it where the old, as in my town, where the old slave market was, where they tore down the whipping post in the slave jails, but in its place they put up the Confederate statues. Again, very deliberately spreading a certain message to the community at large and to the African American community.
Specifically.
And we have to, and we have to look at these. As much as there's an argument of heritage, not hate, that people kind of spread. I mean, the motivations behind this. There seems to be an affinity among some people that consider themselves freedom-oriented or libertarians to really kind of, identify with the South or kind of take this issue, have strong feelings about the statues issue. And, to me, really, it's an issue of, obviously it's a property issue, but it's an issue of state power and the use of the state for decades to create a racial hierarchy by intimidation, law, violence, and terrorism. So, I don't see how you can kind of, equate a liberty perspective with any kind of support of the South, the Confederacy, or Confederate statues. And if they're public property and the public owns them, and in most of these urban areas where there's these controversies, there's a very high predominance of African American people. If they don't want to see the statue, I don't see why they have to see the statue.
Yeah, I came up with a solution over this. I must say that I err on the side of, we should keep the statues. The statues are there. I don't want to take them down. They're there. I like them. Whatever. But I understand that I've got a bias that's built in, and that bias is being from the South. And I get that. Like, when I see the one here in Central Square in Keene, New Hampshire, I say the Yankee statue. I say tear that thing down.
Really?
Because I find it offensive.
I have never even bothered to.
It's a guy with a gun and a bayonet, and that gun and bayonet was used to ram through my forefathers, and I don't particularly like that.
Well, yeah, but if I go to
three
the
Southerners
UK,
on the show here, by the way.
If I go to the UK, I don't expect to not see UK flags, or because the US was at war with the UK at one point. I mean, I'm from the South. I left on purpose. It cost me money. I took a $50,000 pay cut to get the hell out. I spent 3 tanks of gas, whatever it was. I mean, that's kind of a minuscule,
But you left.
I left on purpose. It's not like I woke up one day in New Hampshire. I had to plan and save up for this. I don't understand having an attachment to some place where you were like, this place sucks so hard that I'm going to disrupt my life and spend massive amounts of money and take risks on him. Am I going to be able to find a job or the same kind of job or have the same kind of support system, but then also have some kind of weird loyalty to that place.
Well, all I'm saying is I have biases, and what I would say is these statues, all statues, as far as I'm concerned, I'm willing to. If y'all are willing to give up the Confederate statues, then you better be willing to give up the Yankee statues. All right, and if they're willing to do that, then I say let's find a piece of property someplace in town, or actually, let's sell them off. But make available someplace in town where we can put the Confederate statues or something like that, so people can go see them where they're not in front of the seats of power, as Free Market Penguin's talking about here. So, A, sell them. They shouldn't belong to the state. There's no point in that. B, make a place, a little park someplace or whatever, where you can, if the people who buy them want to put them up in that place, then they can have them put up there, or
like a museum.
Maybe it's private, whatever it is. I don't care, but basically sell it off, and likely the people who bought it can figure out where to put it. I mean, put it in front of the VFW. I don't care.
In New Orleans, at least, there are people who wanted to buy some of those statues, and they were offering pretty good money, and they had it. They had already museums and large houses they wanted to put them in, and the city wouldn't let them. But
tore them down instead.
Yes.
See, that to me is silly.
Yeah. So
Here in the Commonwealth, they actually have a state law that's preventing anybody from coming to any kind of solution to this, because they've made it illegal to take down any kind of war statue.
Well, the state,
even if people want to do it, even if people agree to do it.
It's a war statue of a country that lost a war to, quote, us, though. So that's weird. Like, if there was a UK statue or a Nazi statue or, any of the other, Iraq, Iran countries we've been at war with.
Free Talk Live, 855-450-3733.
Bitcoin.com wants you to know about SaveItPurse.com. Since launching in 2014, over 200,000 users have saved an average of 15% for a combined $4 million using Bitcoin, or BTC. And now you can use Bitcoin Cash, BCH, to fund your account. You can save between 5 to 33% on things you're going to buy anyway when you shop using SaveItPurse.com. Add items to your cart, fund your account, select your discount, and save. SaveItPurse.com. SaveATPurse.com.
Free Talk Live. You are free to call in and talk live here on Free Talk Live. It's Mark with you.
Aria?
And Melanie.
We were just talking in the last segment about, well, you can call in and talk about whatever you want. We were talking about two twins in Brazil who refused to say which one of them knocked some lady up, and so the judge is having to deal with that, which is very confusing. After that, we were talking about Confederate statues in Virginia and all around the South. So, whatever you want to talk about, 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. Go to twitch.freetalklive.com. Please, asking a favor from you. Keep that tab open because, well, not only is it an HD quality video of what's going on here in the studio, but also, we're trying to get a partner status with Twitch, and we have to hit a certain number inside of a month, and it would help us if you had a browser open. So just twitch.freetalklive.com. Thanks. Let's go to Jay calling in from Maine. Jay, you're on Free Talk Live.
Three ugly, lying amigos. What's it like to look like...
LRN.FM.
855-450-3733. And there's very few people that are banned from Free Talk Live, but some are. Melanie?
Is he one of them?
He is, yes.
Yeah, that was James.
Oh.
Yeah. Sometimes you get good at telling these things.
Yeah, so, okay, I have to reload the page again because I let it sit there.
Yeah, no problem. This is the story about
the identical twins who are both being convicted of having to pay child support.
Which clearly,
in Brazil.
Both of them did not knock this woman up.
Yeah, that's...
No, and to be fair, all either of them can say is, look, it wasn't me, it had to be him. So, I mean, they're both saying that. And one of them is telling the truth, one of them is lying. It's going to make family dinners and things like that really awkward.
I don't even know that one of them is lying, because if you are the type of person that goes out and gets messed up and sleeps around...
Maybe your brother is too?
Well, no, maybe you don't remember this woman. Like,
the other part is it could be a situation where, hey, look, I know how your legal system works, and you have to have a guilty party. And clearly... neither one of us, the both of us can't be guilty at once. So in a court case where it's either me or the other 4 billion men on the planet, or a court case where it's either me or one other guy on the planet, it doesn't matter because you can't prove it's me. And
fair enough.
It's a legal argument.
Yeah, but at least one of them is, I mean, I don't know enough about Brazil law to say how good of a defense that is, but at least one of them is telling the truth.
At least one of them is telling the truth. And that one is being, the judicial system, which, at least in the United States, the English common law system has this maxim where it's better that one guilty man go free, or 10 guilty men go free than one innocent man is convicted.
There are men who have been falsely convicted of child support. That is rare, but it does happen. And
do you mean like dad, people that acted as the father of a child?
No, like this one guy was in jail, so he didn't get noticed. So he could not have been the dad, but that's who she named. The DNA test came back and said, you're not the dad. And the judge was like, too late, you missed the date to appeal it. Until this kid turns 18, you have to, pay this individual.
That's kind of a judicial process, though, right? Like, so many times judges will fall back on a process over justice. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying they do it. They say, well, the judicial system went by whatever rules it has in place, and by its rules, you were convicted or, found to be, the father or whatever, found responsible, and therefore, sorry.
Right, but there's cases like that where people are found guilty of child support when it's not their kid. There's also cases child support has this weird retroactive aspect to it. So you can sue somebody for child support. And the judge is like, okay, well, they award it starting for birth. So the kid could be 5. You get an award from birth. You get a retroactive award from birth to that day, and then the monthly award going forward. You get a court date that's 3 months from now. You come in with your DNA test. This ain't me. The judge is like, that's cool, but everything up until today, you still have to pay. That is normal.
And wrong.
Yeah. So people get falsely convicted of child support probably on a somewhat regular basis.
Let me ask you this. The circumstances you're talking about, we have a 3-month-old child or whatever, and the mom says it's me, and I get a paternity test and says it's not me. The judge tells me I have to pay the first 3 months. Then mom's like, oh, well, it's Ian. And they then, all right, they drag Ian in. They do the same rigmarole. And 3 months later, Ian is able to prove that he is not the father. Well, it doesn't really matter what happens. So does Ian have to pay those 3 months that I had to pay?
I don't know.
Who gets those 3 months? Is it the state or the mother at that point?
Whatever is awarded is the mom gets. Sometimes there's like a collection fee. If it's one of those deals where you pay it through one of their portal systems, the state will, collect a 1% or a $20 or whatever it is collection fee, but the award is to the mother.
See, I thought mothers got some kind of check if they asked for a check. And then the state said, all right, but if you get the check, you got to go after the dad. And they're like, okay, let's go after the dad.
That'll happen too. So if she applies to welfare, the state asks, who's the baby daddy? And she can say, I don't know. And sometimes they'll go with that. But if she names somebody, then they'll. So like if you, or not you, but if somebody goes, if a under the poverty line woman or 130%, whatever that is now, whatever the cutoff income is, goes and gets knocked up by someone with a job, she can go get on food stamps and Medicare and whatever else. They'll give it to her because her income is below this threshold and she has the kid. Then they'll turn around and sue the dad if they can find him for
some whatever they can get from him.
For based on his income for to reimburse the state.
Okay. But
it still goes to the mother, does it not?
No, so like if she gets on Medicaid and they sue him to reimburse for the Medicaid, then the state's being reimbursed for basically services that they paid to his child.
So okay, I guess what I'm asking is, won't he also be charged child support on top of that, though?
Yes.
So the mother does get paid for it?
Yeah, she gets the child support, yes.
Okay. So they make out pretty good. So you're not wrong to say that disincentivizing this might be a valid approach.
So hold on. I've got some problems here. So if it's... If the threshold is 100% of the poverty level at which the state both hits you for child support and compensation for Medicaid and whatever,
right? So you get hit with child support, period. And most states, as far as I'm aware, have statutory minimum child support. So in Louisiana, it's $100. There's a chart that says based on your income, you pay X%. But if that X% is less than $100, you're still paying $100.
Is that $100 a week or $100 a month?
Month.
Oh my. So does a woman get less if she makes just a little over the poverty line or whatever the line is?
Less from what?
In general.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, okay. The welfare cliff is a very real thing. You should go look at some of those charts. They look like this.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, so what if it's a rich guy, right, and a poor woman? Does the state then make out? Because they get they provide Medicare and WIC and all this other stuff, Medicaid and WIC and all that other stuff, and then charge the guy a whole bunch for that, or is it always the same fee for?
As I don't know. As far as I know, it's like
wildly different.
We paid X dollars for Medicaid, so you owe us X dollars.
Okay.
I don't know though.
I mean, we can see that from the R. Kelly arrest, where he was being asked to pay something like $150,000 in child support for a 3-month period or something like that. So it's wildly different based on what the man makes.
Because the child support is different. The repaying the state, I don't think that's different. I don't know, though.
Right.
True.
It's a messed up system. 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE here on Free Talk Live. Or you can use the Discord chats. Discord.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live, talking about the intricacies of child support here. It's Mark with you.
Aria?
And Melanie.
855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. Let's go to the phones here on Free Talk Live. We've got Damien calling in. Damien, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Yeah, what I've got is a situation with Department of Corrections, Goose Creek Correctional Center in Wasilla, Alaska.
Okay, that's where Sarah Palin's from.
Yeah, it is. anyhow, this jail that they built here is a 1,500-man prison. And what they've done over there is they've got, well, let me tell you about the project that we put together over there. The inmates, with a good understanding of what's going on with the heroin epidemic here in the valley, which has gotten to be way out of control, and in the jails, there's a very large number of young people who, right out of high school, ended up in this system, and some of these guys are 30 years old and younger that have never gotten out of the system. So what we did is we created a two-part program that would take the inmates and allow them to interface either through Skype or make a movie or go into the classrooms, kind of like the old Scared Straight program used to do, and talk to these inmates because they're in that demographic that can communicate with the young people in the school system better than anybody else can.
So inmates interfacing with students, all right.
Yeah. And the other part of the program was to give a substantial portion of the inmate fund, which has been renamed the Inmate Welfare Fund, to the schools to bolster their existing drug and alcohol programs. The schools also are being impeded by budget cuts like everybody else in the state is because the state's in serious debt.
The inmates have agreed to give the Inmate Welfare Fund, a portion of the Inmate Welfare Fund, to fund schools?
Yes, to give it to the Matsu-Boro School District.
Amazing.
Yes. Well, this was the consensus of people, and we had a petition with over 50% of the people in the mod that we were in. So
mod is short for module.
Project. Yes.
It's like a cell block.
Correct. And there are 10 of them there. And so the inmates in different mods are not allowed to interact with one another.
Okay.
And the only time that you ever see them is when you go to the chow hall or something like that. So what's gone on is we sent I was sort of appointed as the secretary of this group because, you know, I had the best handwriting, basically. And so
it's as good as reason as any.
And also there was a lot of mailing and copying of stuff, and so I incurred the cost of doing that, and I was the one that sent information about the project to the Matsu-Boro School District. I sent it to the newspapers here. I sent information to the mayor, and to try and get input from people on whether they liked it or not. Matsu-Boro School District was on board from the beginning.
Well, duh.
They need the money, and they like the program. They believe that this is the kind of program that should have been instated a long time ago.
Well, I'm not sure that I have a problem with this in so much as the Inmate Welfare Fund is a fund created with a small amount of profit. We'll use the term profit for this circumstance. Profit on things that are bought in the canteen. So soups,
Correct.
Cans of tuna fish, bars of soap, things like that. Then this fund is used to buy basketballs, weight equipment, televisions, stuff that makes prison not suck as bad. And
for things like potlatches and special meals and things, expendable, dispensable things that the inmates can use.
Yeah.
But it is within the spectrum of uses, and this has been mandated by the courts, that it can be used for a donation.
Okay.
And so for 6.5 years that Goose Creek has been up and running, to use a term, the inmates were never allowed to know how much money was in the fund. Many people had tried, and well,
that's just embezzlement.
Yes, if they tried too hard, then they were shipped out. And so what I did is I finally found the proper person to ask about how much money was in the inmate fund. I contacted the media and sent them a letter that is required that they fill out in order to come and visit an inmate and interview an inmate. So the word was sort of out among the people in the Department of Corrections that I was not going to let this go. I wanted to know how much was in the inmate fund. So like you said, it's a small amount of money, 3% that's collected from all of the commissary purchases. And when I finally got the answer back on the 2nd of January, the amount of money in the fund is $126,916.09.
Not bad.
Quite a bit of money, considering they're not allowing the inmates to spend it on anything.
Right.
The weight equipment is already paid for. The potlatches.
I don't know what a potlatch is.
Sort of a potluck that the natives have. There's a pretty good native population, quite a bit of a native population in the jail.
Native American religious ceremony. Gotcha.
Yeah, and of course, if it's for the natives, everybody gets it.
Right.
Okay, it's not just, but it would be them that would say, we have a potlatch coming up. And
so what's at issue? What?
So this is the issue. When we put in to have the money sent to the Matsu Borough School District, we were refused by the superintendent.
Okay.
And his response to that was that it says that, let's see.
I don't want to.
Yeah, were you rejected by the school superintendent or the jail's superintendent?
Oh, no, the school superintendent wants the program to go through.
Okay.
The jails, the superintendent of that jail, Earl Hauser, said no. He denied it because he said it was up to the GCCC community to decide IWF uses. I sent him an RFI after that saying, willing to present PUT project to GCCC community for approval, will accept outcome. Also attached a list of legal Supreme Court decisions.
Damien, you got this guy. I mean, all you got to do is keep chasing him down. Are you still in the jail?
No, I was released. I was only in
jail
you
got him.
days.
Yeah, you got him. You're going to beat this guy up, and he's going to go to jail because he's been embezzling money. Just stick on him and let us know what happens. I'm really curious.
I'm going to keep you guys abreast of everything that happens. I just got off the phone with the ombudsman today, and I had filed a grievance prior to being released from jail concerning the fact that the inmates were not being allowed to vote on this issue. So,
yeah, you got him. Thank you for the call, Damien. I appreciate it. 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. Melanie, so just to get what you can out of this article here where the twins in Brazil are being accused of both having to pay child support for a child that obviously one of them did not father.
Yeah, so he convicted them of, and I'm going to use the word convicted. That's not like the proper legal term, but I don't
found
see
responsible.
a difference. If I'm convicted of illegal parking and I have to pay a fine, I'm still convicted. So
he basically tried to pull a King Solomon, really.
Right. That's what happened.
And it didn't work.
Well, it worked up to this point.
Okay, fair enough, yeah.
It needs to be considered by an appellate court, but I don't know what goes on.
I don't know
in Brazil.
that. I don't know how Brazil works.
Nor do I.
I mean, child support isn't appealable here, so I don't know if it is in Brazil or not. He ordered each twin to fork over $60 a month, or 30% of the Brazilian minimum wage, toward child support. That actually helps the child. Well, it helps the mom. Okay, she'll be getting twice as much as kids from a similar economic background, according to BBC.
And sets some precedent that is horrifying. The idea that somebody that they know isn't the father of a child has just been ordered to give child support to a child that is clearly not theirs. Clearly. We don't know who it is, but we know that one of them is not the father.
Yeah, he's being punished for someone else's crime.
Yeah, and this is a bad ruling. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, and the judge ruled that the names of both men will appear on the girl's birth certificate.
Well, and now the judge has just overridden biology.
She's got two daddies.
I thought they were against that kind of thing.
855-450-3733. Free Talk Live. Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Ten approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event, even with coupon code FTLEB. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTLEB for a discount.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. We're kicking off the second hour here. It's Mark with you.
Aria?
And Melanie.
855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE. Melanie, we're talking about a situation in Brazil where some twins were found, two male twins were found to be the father of a child because neither one of them would fess up, more or less. And the test came back that both were the father, which obviously they would. They're twins. And the judge has clearly sentenced an innocent man, or whatever amounts to sentencing. And you brought this article in. If you guys want to hear us read it up to this point, you can grab the archives at archives.freetalklive.com. We've got archives going back there for 10 years or more. Archives.freetalklive.com. They're completely free. So what's the turning point of this article? What's the important message we should take away?
I mean, that Brazil and other states are unjust, horrible institutions. I mean, well, the guy that was my point, I guess.
Yeah, I think that this is the ruling of a monopoly, right? Maybe this is the right ruling. I don't know what the right ruling is, but it's kind of looks like a monopoly's ruling, because the judge isn't going to be held responsible for this. There's no appeal to this, at least in the United States. If a judge had made this ruling in the United States, we know there to be no appeal, right?
In the United States, yes. I don't know about Brazil.
Right. Can't say.
I thought there were appeal systems here in the United States.
Not for family court, or at least not for child support and not for custody.
At all?
Nope.
Holy crap.
Yeah, family court operates in an entirely different fashion. Ladies and gentlemen, do not get knocked up, especially outside of wedlock.
I mean, this
exactly
guy didn't
the opposite
even
message, though.
do
it's
anything.
That, you should get knocked up. What you shouldn't do is do the knocking up. That's the message that all of this conveys. Because the chick here, she's doing pretty well.
Yeah, she said she's getting double child support for, and I don't know what the age of majority is in Brazil, around 18 years.
Presumably 18, 16 or 18 or something like that, right? Well, it's a heck of a story. So we also have a story about Burning Man. I guess the Bureau of Land Management has, I don't know. What are they messing with Burning Man about?
Well, they want them to do a number of things that the Burning Man attendees, or organizers rather, are not particularly inclined to do, such as paying for roads and things like that they're saying, this is going to increase the costs too significantly. So we want all of the people who like Burning Man and who attend it to write the Bureau of Land Management and ask them to reconsider.
I love this.
Yeah.
So my takeaway is already, the socialists had a party on government land, and now the government has, the organization the socialists want to put in charge of everything, has turned on the partygoers. Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, it's not a surprise at all. And I'm sort of surprised because it's generally leftists that love Burning Man, right?
Generally,
and
I mean,
they're all
it's
about
supposed to be a
the
great party.
socialism and all of that.
Yeah.
So being asked to pay for the roads is something that should be right up their alley.
They should be thrilled with
Isn't that like the number one government product that should be paid for by everyone?
That's what libertarians, we hate roads.
Yeah.
I hate them.
Screw them all. But they're also being asked to reduce the amount of light pollution, providing more dumpsters inside the city.
The city where they're not having the party.
Right.
Okay.
And along Gate Road, paying for the maintenance of County Road 34, which we already mentioned, which participants take to the entrance. So it's like, okay, people are using this to get here, so you should pay for it.
Well, I got to say, a county road is a funny little piece of socialism, right? So we can all agree, ladies and gentlemen, listening to me, that, and if you don't agree, 855-450-3733, it's 855-450-FREE, that roads are socialist.
Absolutely.
Right. We take all people in a given area, in this case, a county, and we say, you people must pay for this road. We believe this road to be important, so put this. So you pay for this road. And if you don't pay for this road through your property taxes, we'll just come and take it from you.
Yeah.
We don't care where you live. You're our serf. So we have deemed this road so important that we will rob you of your home. That's what they've done. Now, but that road is being paid by those people in the county, so those people in the county should be able to drive on it. But anybody can drive on the road.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't know how many counties in the United States, but a whole lot of them.
Well, I mean, generally, isn't the solution that people have for that is to implement tolls and things like that?
I guess. I mean, that's basically what's being asked here. The road maintenance part could very well have been a private road issue too. So if Burning Man decides to go to a private farm or whatever passes for a farm out there in the desert, I don't know, a private piece of land, and that presumably the people going to it will have to go down a road, and that road will have possibly have been paid for by the county that land is in.
Sure.
And therefore, that county may say, there's a whole lot of people going down this road that didn't pay for it. We need another system for paying for this road. And presumably, these people are causing wear and tear on the road and all those sorts of things. So really what we have here is a bad system for paying for roads.
Absolutely.
Not a good system for, really anything. Roads are poorly managed and inefficient. What a surprise.
Yeah, but
the people calling themselves government, they manage it.
Yeah, so the government kind of created this problem. At the same time, I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for people who are like, I demand to use this service. You can't make me pay for it. So you're using a whole lot of resources having your, drug party in the middle of the land bureau's land they're occupying.
The
fact that you shouldn't have to pay a little bit of that... A little bit for that is kind of absurd. Like, that wouldn't be free in a free market. You wouldn't just have, like, a free plot of land, be able to congest everybody else's roads, throw trash all over. Dumpsters inside the city, maybe that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
It doesn't to me.
Most of this, I mean, they're both wrong. I hate them both.
Right. First off, these people are having a nice time, Melanie. Call it their drug party with their gift economy and all that stuff.
Sober people don't go stand there, go to places and stare at a bonfire for 3 hours a day or for 3 days and do nothing else.
Yeah, most won't. I would agree that there are probably some drugs at Burning Man. And
yeah, I would assume that.
I agree that there should be some system for dealing with the road, but probably the wear and tear by these cars is not significant. Just a guess.
I'm not convinced of that.
They're not taking 18-wheelers down there.
I'm not convinced that cars cause any wear and tear on roads.
Well, what does? Weather?
More likely to be weather.
It certainly does up here.
Yeah.
We've got up in the very least the Northeast. I don't know where. I presume every place that it freezes, they have something called a frost heave, and that is freeing from the South. I wasn't familiar with these at all, but. Yeah. Basically, water at some point or another gets up underneath the road and then freezes. When it freezes, it expands. When it expands, it makes a little bump in the road, and then it doesn't expand in the summer. It just goes back down. And roads here last something like 10 years. Where I'm from, they last decades. In Florida, I mean, I grew up off of a road that was really quite old, and. I mean, it's been there longer than anybody had been alive on that road, could remember. So,
I could certainly see, water expansion when freezing as damaging roads and things like that. But what we're ultimately talking about here is like rubber.
Rubber
asphalt.
on roads. Yeah.
And between the two, I guess technically, sure.
You might be right.
I mean, there's erosion to the tires, certainly. So over time, enough may actually cause damage to a road. But I'd imagine it would have to be. I mean, we do know that cars traveling along roads do form ruts and things like that in them. So,
but it could just be the weight of them compacting.
Sure, but it still would need to be repaired and maintained.
So this is the crux of it: is the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, is telling Burning Man they must pay for new things that they don't want, right?
Right.
But they want the things. They just don't want to pay for the things. That's
they want
difference.
the road, but they don't want a lot of the things. Let's talk about it here in a second. 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live. Call in, talk about what's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
Aria.
And Melanie.
855-450-3733. Talking about Burning Man. And apparently the Bureau of Land Management's having a little problem with them. But first I want to tell you about the Morgan Report. The U.S. dollar is fragile since it's just a paper asset backed by nothing more than a government promise. One tangible asset that exists today and rarely loses value is silver. Silver expert David Morgan of the Morgan Report can educate you on this relatively safe, tangible asset via a newsletter or even intimate coaching sessions. Imagine having an expert in any field frequently guiding you. Now you can have this assistance with silver expert David Morgan. We had him on the show probably a month ago from Anarchapulco. Guy's great. He offers both one-on-one or group coaching via webinar for those who want guidance. And silver's a tangible asset. You can touch it. Its value has fluctuated throughout the years, but it isn't going to be worth zero. Silver has medical uses. It has industrial uses. It is something of value. Whereas the dollar, it just continues to go down and down and down. There's no need to stress out over stock market declines when investing in precious metals, including silver. David Morgan will walk you through the process. Just log on to themorganreport.com or call 480-325-0230. It's for contact silver expert and coach David Morgan at themorganreport.com or call 480-325-0230. Let's go to Daryl calling in from Texas. Daryl, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, so you guys were talking earlier about child support. I'm actually a single dad raising two kids on my own, and I'm not getting child support right now.
Well, dads generally don't, right?
Well, actually, what's really funny is I found this out, that I had a lady that I worked with when I worked for a major Fortune 500 company, and she had moved to our company from working for the Texas Attorney General's office for the child support.
Uh-huh.
And she said that percentage-wise, women are more likely not to pay than men when they're required to pay.
Yeah, I'm sure. Doesn't surprise me at all.
But the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
That's the thing, right? They don't feel as obligated to pay. Hey, I did all this work on the front end. You take care of it from here on out, or whatever the justification might be.
Yeah. Now, it is more likely that women will get custody because of some really bad decision making. That instead of taking a look at who's the best parent, they automatically think like the mom would be the best parent. Well, that's not always true. I mean,
it is generally true, though. No, yeah. I mean, they assume that is generally true. I'm not saying it's generally true that women make the better parents, to be clear.
Yeah. Well,
I think there's a lot of guys out there that don't want the responsibility either. I mean, to be clear,
that's true.
It's probably more males than females, just as a percentage that are like, why don't you take them rather than the other way. Not saying that that's the sum total of it, but the guys that want or need, honestly, because many of them, are in a situation where, like, she really shouldn't have these kids. Those guys don't get a fair shake.
Yeah. Well, in my case, she signed off on it because she knew that she wasn't going to be able to afford to take care of them. But what's really interesting, one of the jokes that we make about it, at least here in Texas, was you could practically have the woman in court shooting up or smoking dope, and they would still give her custody because she's the mom. And now, granted, that's a bit of excessive, but we're trying to say that sometimes you have overwhelming evidence that this lady shouldn't even be raising a pet rock, and they want to give her custody.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's prevalent in the South in general. I mean, it was like that in Mississippi and Tennessee as well.
Well, in Florida, it's certainly the claim is that it's the same. I don't know, but I guess I'm unsurprised that this is one of those areas where guys just get shortchanged.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when she signed off, was that a piece of paper where she said she gave up all rights and also all responsibilities?
Not exactly. What she did is we went to court, and when she signed off on the paperwork that I am the full custodial parent. Now I didn't require her to pay child support, but I am working on getting that now to have her pay because at that time she didn't have a job. So I think it's silly to force someone to pay child support when they have no income.
Right.
That was
you'll just get her thrown in jail.
Where they'll be guaranteed to have no income anymore.
Right. They'll just stop having income.
Yeah. Yeah. I think throwing people in jail because they can't pay child support is utterly moronic. When they first started doing that in Texas when I was like 14 or 15, my response was, "That's stupid."
It is stupid.
It's definitely counterproductive.
Well, I guess my advice to you, Daryl, would be have a chat with her, as distasteful as that might be, and say, "Hey, look, I know you're working. I'd like some money, and let's not forget that I can get it, because you could take her back and get some money." And then she'd have to give up some portion of her paycheck. It'd be better if she voluntarily gave you some. And likely she'll come up with every excuse of the book every week when she has to pay, or whatever the time frame is. She'll be like, "Oh, this happened this week, and that happened this week." I can't get a hold of her. Yeah.
I haven't been able to get a hold of her for over a year. So.
Yeah, that's. I suppose you could go to court and tell her she's got to pay, and I'm sure they'd do a little better job of finding her than you will. But that's about all I can recommend.
Yeah, I understand. I'm already going through the process. So.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to at least tell you guys from a guy's perspective who has custody of his kids that, and by the way, one of my kids is on Medicaid because he has autism, and so yeah, they will look for her, from what I've been told, once they start having to pay.
Yeah. It's a tough situation. Thanks for the call, Daryl. Appreciate it.
No problem. Right.
I would definitely like to hear of a woman being forced to pay child support. I don't like the word forced, and I don't like the whole aspect of it. I would just be surprised to find that any government within the United States said to a woman, "Yeah, you have to pay for these kids."
I'm pretty sure it must have happened at some point.
I'm sure it has
there are women who have had to pay child support.
Yeah, it's probably
rare,
vanishingly rare.
I mean, because if a woman doesn't want a kid, she kind of,
she can take care of that.
She could take care of that before it becomes an issue,
right?
In multiple ways.
Now,
but I've seen a lot of instances where guys, are just basically like, "I don't want to have this kid," and they sign some piece of paper that says that they don't have to have child support, but they also have no say in that kid's life. Like
if you put a child up for adoption, can you end up on the hook for child support?
No, but in some states, that child will still be a forced heir of yours.
There are some weird circumstances surrounding heredity and those sorts of things, but the answer is generally no.
Because that's essentially what this woman did.
Like the adopted parents can't sue you for child support. Like that's not going to happen.
Then how come he can sue her for child support?
Well, she didn't sign a piece of paper giving up all rights, just made him the custodial parent.
True.
And so she's got a say in how the kid's life goes. Of course, she's a mess, and he can't get a hold of her. I mean, there's one clue that she's a mess. That she lost her kids. There's another clue, a big glaring one with like red flags flipping around on the top of it. So 855-450-3733. 855-450-FREE. Free Talk Live.
Business owners, You want more customers? Accept cryptocurrencies. There's people all around you just waiting to spend money at your store. If only you would take it. I know, you've been waiting till someone else makes it easy. Well, good news. HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com adds Bitcoin to your point of sale. Totally free. Use the same equipment you already have, now with Bitcoin. And unlike credit cards, there's no fees. Let the guys at HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com bring new customers to your store. HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You can call in and talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
Aria.
And Melanie.
855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. Got a story here we're reading about the Bureau of Land Management telling the Burning Man that it's got to abide by some certain rules or whatever, and Burning Man didn't like it. So let's go to the phones, though. We got Sarah calling in from New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, today is Work Zone Safety Awareness Day.
Work Safety Awareness Day.
Yeah, Work Zone Safety Awareness Day. In other words, here in New Mexico, the speeders have run over like 700 road workers last year.
Wait, the theaters? What did you say?
Speeders.
Oh, speeders.
700.
Okay.
I just can't believe that number, Sarah. 700 road workers were run over in the state of New Mexico last year?
Yeah, and then only 4 of them were killed, and then 80 were severely injured.
Okay.
But 700 of them were hit.
By hit, do you mean like buffeted by winds as they went by? Or do you mean like bumped by a slow car? I mean, exactly what are we talking about here?
Well, I think they were bumped by speeding cars. Why would they get bumped by a slow car?
Because if you get bumped by a speeding car, you're more likely to be dead.
Well, 4 of them are dead. I mean, it was just announced really, really quickly this morning on the radio. So that's what I caught. But 4 of them are killed, and 80 of them were severely injured, and then 700 were. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense because 800 pedestrians were struck by cars, and so 400 work zone workers were struck by cars. So I have no idea how that really lines up.
What do you think we should? What conclusions do you think we should draw from this, Sarah?
Well, the conclusion is like I have no idea. It's like maybe self-driving cars, maybe.
Oh, I think most people are looking forward to that.
Well, I mean, there have also been reports of self-driving cars hitting pedestrians.
Well, at least one.
Yeah.
Then again, it was somebody running from one homeless camp to another across an interstate exit, but all right.
Yeah, that's not very smart.
I was told that here's one solution is that they're making cars with a speed limit now.
Like a governor?
In other words,
governor?
So I think it's the maximum speed is like maybe 70 miles. That's all they could do.
Right, but if you're doing 70 in a populated area, that's still a problem. That doesn't really solve anything.
Also, 70 miles an hour is the speed limit in some places in the United States. So that means if you're going 70, you can't speed up to get past somebody or, out of the way or these kind of things. I mean, you'd want to have some amount higher than that.
Yeah, the speed limit is also higher in much of the Midwest. I think in New Mexico, most of the interstates have a 75-mile-per-hour speed limit.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think it goes above 70.
There's one place where it's 80 because I know somebody who went on vacation there.
Yeah, on my drive from Mississippi to Vegas, there were plenty of stretches that were 75 miles per hour.
Okay. Well, I'll stand corrected.
Here's the thing. Why did they make the cars? It's 110 miles. You could go as high as 110 miles. And all the speed limits is like 65.
Well, yeah, so that's not how engines work, though. It's not like you're programming a computer and you set a limit. You create an engine, and the engine has a capacity. You would have to go in and add in software and things to break it to have a a hard limit on the engine's capacity.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. Is that they're going to put like the software and design where the maximum speed that you could do is 75. Like I said.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's why. Like, cars are older than this tech, so that's why cars could do 110, 120, whatever.
It says here, USA Today reports that Texas's top speed limit is 85 miles per hour. It's the highest in the U.S. Let's see. The average is 78.3. I don't know, for all three types of roadways, whatever that means.
So people will have to jailbreak cars, essentially.
And they will.
Yeah, and they will. I will.
Right.
That doesn't sound safe.
I don't like my hardware being intentionally limited by software.
Right. I mean, sometimes, so you wouldn't let the police cars be limited by the software, right, Sarah?
Well, I mean, their cars should have an exemption, but you know what I would like is
sometimes police aren't paying attention. They have a laptop sitting in their passenger seat in many cases, and there's a lot of stories out there. So many, I don't even bother reading them anymore, of people who are killed, injured by police officers who aren't paying attention and going too fast in a given zone.
But you know what I would like is I would like an automatic adjusted self speed control. In other words, like the moment it enters an automatic speed zone, the computers would talk to the road computers that would automatically just adjust it automatically.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to happen with these self-driving cars.
That sounds incredibly dangerous. I don't think that tech I don't think that we're.
But I'll say this, Sarah. I think most speed limits are set artificially low, and that once you have self-driving cars, they'll probably go faster. And there will be some deaths because people should stay the heck out of the road. I mean, the roads are for cars, not for people. Obviously, you have to cross them or whatever, but you should be taking it very seriously when you're crossing the path of a 3,000-pound death machine. I mean,
well, I'm talking about road workers. They're working a job.
Hey, I'm a firefighter. I'm telling you, I am one of those road workers, Sarah. And
that's what I'm talking about. Today is the Road Worker Safety Awareness Day. That's what I'm talking about.
I hear you. And road workers should pay attention. But it sounds like they're doing okay out there. I mean,
700 people getting hit by
no, they
cars
didn't.
while they're working
No,
on the
they just
road
didn't.
is okay?
They just didn't. 700 people just did not get hit by cars. No, I'm sorry. 700 road workers in New Mexico did not get hit by cars.
I looked. I didn't find any
It's a bad
stats
number.
on it.
I'm sorry. Thanks for the call.
It might be 7.
855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. So is there anything more to this Bureau of Land Management story and
not particularly.
And Burning Man?
Well,
basically?
The Burning Man people say that, some of the proposals are in direct conflict.
And these proposals are maintain the roads, put some trash dumpsters in town, not at the event. What else?
Something about the light pollution.
Yeah, light pollution. Okay, yeah, that's a real problem.
It is. I actually have strong opinions about light pollution. But they say it will conflict with their community's core principles.
Paying for the roads is conflicting with their community's core principles.
Yeah.
That's what they're alleging. And that it would forever negatively alter the fabric of the Burning Man event, if not outright kill it.
Well, like the government's going to be concerned whether or not the Burning Man event is killed.
Oh, no, where are the drug-addled hippies going to congregate?
Right. What do we do? I think that Burning Man should exist, but Burning Man has a fundamental philosophical problem, and that philosophical problem is it did not initially eschew government. I mean, if you didn't think at some point your drug party in the desert with tens of thousands, then perhaps hundreds of thousands, I don't even know the numbers at this point, of people.
Looks like about 80,000.
Okay, tens of thousands of people wasn't going to get the attention at some point or another of the police and varying types.
And you're having it on what the government considers to be their property.
Right.
So you're not even hiding.
Right. It's like they've just thrown up their hands and said, I don't know what we're going to do. Go put your party on private land. That's what you're going to do. It's an easy solution to this.
Yeah.
Stop dealing with the Bureau of Land Management. The Bureau of Land Management is the one that only has a finger over them, only has their thumb over them, because they have it on their land. Well, that's the problem.
Yeah, private property would help.
Certainly would have been helpful.
They might still charge you for it, though.
It could be. There could be some issues. Absolutely. They're gonna demand some kind of license. The number, 855-450-3733. What do you think about this issue? 855-450-FREE. Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live. Call in and talk about what you want. It's Mark with you.
Aria?
And Melanie.
855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. Freedom Fest's theme this year is the Wild West. Liberty and opportunity, or lawlessness and violence. Penn Jillette, Candace Owens, John Mackey, Kevin O'Leary and Kevin Harrington of Shark Tank, Stephen Moore, newly appointed Fed board member, Grover Norquist, libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchist capitalists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTLEB and you get a discount of like $50. Plus, at freedomfest.com/FTL, you get 5 of the best speeches from last year. So you can taste test this. You can test drive Freedom Fest. Judge Napolitano, Alan Dershowitz, Charlie Kirk, Heather McDonald, John Mackey, all for free. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Let's go to the phones. We got Jay calling in, probably from New Hampshire. Jay, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we got you.
All right, cool. Hey, I wanted to comment. Aria had mentioned that I would jailbreak a car if it came down to that. Well, for years now we've had
just define jailbreaking.
Okay, well, in the automotive industry they call it chipping or tuning.
Okay.
And when Aria says jailbreak, like you buy a phone and you want to jailbreak it so you could use it on any carrier or whatever, I assume is what she's talking about.
Yeah.
But for example, there's a company called Power Hungry Performance. It's a nice mom and pop operation, and what these guys have been doing for about a decade, or actually longer than that, almost 20 years, they've been basically making these chips that you plug into the computer of like a Ford Power Stroke diesel pickup truck from like 1994 to pretty much present day, and simply by plugging these chips in, and it comes with a 5 or 6 position switch. I used to actually buy these things, buy a dozen of them at a time, and I had the computer program to burn the chips. And we could take a truck that was like 200 horsepower and make it like 350, 400 horsepower just by plugging this chip into it.
And that doesn't shorten the life of the engine at all?
Well, so not really with the diesel engine, not so much.
Right.
This is, the diesel pickup truck has become a modern day muscle car. You can literally buy like a 2006 Chevy diesel and buy a $600 tuner for it, and you will have a 650 horsepower truck that'll run like a 12-second quarter mile. The turbo diesel engine.
Isn't 12 seconds pretty awful? I mean, I guess you wouldn't take a truck to run a quarter mile anyway. What's that?
That's in 4-wheel drive. That is insanely fast for a
truck in 4-wheel
truck to go 12 seconds.
Okay.
Yes. You can't do it in 2-wheel drive. And when these guys launch at the drag strip, sometimes they grenade the transfer cases. They're making
what does that mean?
Power.
It doesn't sound good.
Grenade is like the transfer case is what puts power to the front axle and the rear axle. And by grenading it, just all the gears just shoot out on the ground.
Plunk. Good God.
Because yeah. So, anyways, but no. So I used to build these chips with valet settings for some people. And so what they would do is they would set the valet setting, which was like if the valet is going to park your car, you can put it on a position where it'll only go 35 miles an hour.
Okay.
Or whatever you want to set it at.
Got it.
The other thing you could do is a governor. It's most like a truck I'm driving right now is governed at 96 miles an hour. But if I put a chip in it, it can do about 125.
Okay.
And it's just a simple program to limit these things to whatever you want. When I was in Colorado, we actually had somebody's semis that would run almost 100 miles an hour, and my stepfather had me govern a couple of them to 62. That guys were driving, and they weren't running down the highway. They were running, secondary roads where the speed limit was like 65.
Yep.
But like J.B. Hunt and Schneider, these big trucking companies, they set up their trucks so they'll only go 62 miles an hour, because when you start going over 62 miles an hour with a big semi, the efficiency of having to move all that wind out of the air starts to really, reduce versus time. They got to calculate it. That's why you see a lot of semis going down the road 62 miles an hour, because
I do notice that.
Calculated.
It does seem to be a magic number.
That's where so that 80,000-pound semi, some of them will get like 10 miles to the gallon going 62, but if you go 70 with them, now you're going to get 7.5 miles to the gallon, which is, that's 30% increase in fuel costs.
Yeah, some jerk with a calculator figured out it was a better system, so they put the governor on at the right speed. Huh, cool.
So the drivers hate it because they get paid by the mile, but when you're a trucking company that has 2,000 or 5,000 trucks, I mean, that turns into millions of dollars every quarter.
So I thought I would have thought that the JB Hunt and the company drivers would have gotten paid by something besides the mile. I would have thought they got paid by whatever the job was. No?
Well, it's all different, but a lot, when you walk in a truck stop, you'll see get paid 45 cents a mile,
yep.
To drive some or whatever, But a lot of the guys I've talked to over the years are like, well, we hate driving these slow trucks because we get paid by the mile, but if they got to drive like New York City, New Jersey, Connecticut, New England, they get paid like a little better because you can't run the speed limit,
right.
with all the congestion on the road and stuff.
Right.
These all different scales. Obviously, the market forces, reflect what guys are getting paid, because if they don't get paid enough, they just quit.
Thanks for the call, Jay. Appreciate it.
Yes.
855-450-3733. Let's go to Caleb calling in from Iowa. Caleb, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, so I'm calling in about the roads and the Bureau of Land Management wanting to pay maintenance.
Yeah.
And I'm an engineer, and as far as wanting the people to pay for damage to the roads, there's what's called an easel, which is an equivalent single axle load. And
okay.
That's based on an 18,000-pound axle for a semi.
Okay, so that's
when you compare.
Right, so they're talking about a semi-axle at that point when you compare, say, a car axle to it.
Right, so everything is based off of this equivalent single axle load, and when you look at the damage caused by a semi compared to a car, damage is on a scale that goes by a magnitude order of 4, or a power of 4, excuse me. So for a car to cause damage to a road, it would take thousands of cars to equate to the damage of a semi.
So the ruts on the roads that we were discussing earlier are more than likely caused by semis and not ordinary travelers.
Right.
Interesting.
And that's what, if you look, if you go in and you register a vehicle and whatnot, a lot of times there's a weight associated with that,
yep.
Depending on what state it's in. So therefore, your registration fee is going to partially be dependent on that weight. So that's kind of how they... kind of how the state goes and tries to account for that. However, there's sheer volume of cars, they're going to charge more for the cars because they'll get more money out of just sheer volume.
Sure, they got people they can charge with it. Let me ask you this: so when you're talking about a road, say this sounds like it's the Black Rock Desert is where they have Burning Man, and that's the road we're talking about, the county road that leads out to it. In an environment like that, if there's semis going down that road, and it's likely there's not very many, but there's probably some. Just not very many because there's probably not a very large population. Yep. Is it more likely that it's just age and weather that's causing the problems with the road as opposed to even semis, even just usage?
So in pavement design, you look at weather and then the temperature swings. So In the desert, it gets hot and then it gets cold very fast.
Okay.
Relative to other parts of the state, just because you don't have anything that holds the heat or holds the coolness in.
Right.
So you get large temperature swings very fast, and it's generally assumed that half the damage caused to a road is based on weather. The other half is caused by use.
Yeah, so by people driving on it. And then the causes of damage caused by driving is largely semis as opposed to cars.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, Caleb, thank you for the call. We appreciate having an expert call in rather than us just wildly
us
speculating.
guessing isn't really useful.
Yeah, appreciate that. Smartest listeners in the world. Free Talk Live. 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Free Talk Live.
Kicking off the third hour of Free Talk Live. It's Mark with you. Aria.
And Melanie.
You can call in, talk about whatever's on your mind. You are free to call in and talk live here on Free Talk Live. The number's 855-450-3733. Let's get right to the phone calls. We've got them. I'm going to go just guess a name here. Reveler in Florida. You're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, hello everybody. Reviler, good to see you all, especially Aria the Mutilator. My subject
hello,
is
Rev.
why should we not celebrate the deaths and maimings of police when they work against their fellow man unjustifiably so often?
Oh, I think we should.
I don't think we should at all. I think it's a terrible idea.
Good.
So,
why?
Me? I have to defend it before. Yeah. Okay, all right. I suppose I'm defending. So, exactly what am I defending? The notion of saying something. I would mostly just not talk about it at all.
To be fair, I do think it makes more sense for me to go first because then Mark has something to I'm kind of the one with the positive proposition.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of the one with the burden of proof here.
All right, counselor.
So if there is a cop, then he's going around aggressing against people. Some do it more than others. Some do it to more, degree than others. On one extreme, they throw grenades on the babies. And on the other extreme, they rob people 20 times a month, 10 times a month, whatever their quota is, and just have that really annoying,
for speeding tickets?
Yeah. Or for whatever, for people who maybe aren't even speeding because they write all their tickets on the last day of the month like most cops. The death by 1,000 paper clips kind of deal. And so they can't do that if they're dead. And so what you're celebrating is the lessening of an aggression. Now there's still, humongous,
it's just a job opening,
insurmountable. It's going to take them a long time to fill it. Then they got to train the guy.
It's not going to take a long time to fill it. And how long does it take to teach somebody how to write a speeding ticket?
I don't know.
Not long.
It shouldn't take long, but we're talking about government bureaucracy, though. So if he's dead, he's not out aggressing against people, especially if he's somebody who is more on the throw grenades on babies end of the spectrum. Also, every time that happens, if, cashiers at the dollar store got killed on a regular basis, people would think twice about applying to the dollar store. Now, cashiers at the dollar store don't have it coming, but there would be that deterrent. So the more often it happens, the more people are deterred from taking these jobs.
I like this lady a lot more now.
Oh, I like this subject a lot less.
I talk about this all the time. I don't... Okay.
So here, let me defend, if I may. Police officers, like many government workers, do a job that would otherwise exist in the marketplace, right? So they provide security services of some sort. Admittedly, they're not funded the way I want them to. Yes, laws as they are written today are written by a bunch of liars and thieves. In many cases, the police officers, that's not their particular problem. They provide services that we need. Do we need as many of them as we have? I tend to think not. But I would stop the drug war. I wouldn't put nonviolent offenders in prison unless they kept doing the same offense over and over again. I wouldn't use police in lots of ways that they are currently used. But it's unsurprising to me that this, because government grows, thus police departments grow. Yes, they're costly, and yes, we could probably find technological solutions like speeding cameras and red light cameras to solve a lot of the tasks that people say, oh, without police officers, what do we do? I think speeding cameras would probably solve a lot of that, and that you could, people with cell phones could call in a really reckless driver or something, that a lot of these things could be handled. Nonetheless, these people hold a status of heroic status in our society, and if we libertarians are going to present our ideas from the mainstream, we probably should present the ideas that are most palatable, not the least palatable ones. So we should keep the celebration of the death of bureaucrats and politicians to a minimum, and not mention the heroin vending machines. Those are my theories.
Well, for the most part, I'm actually with Melanie. Cops are aggressors and should not exist. But I don't want to rejoice in their deaths because I'm an advocate of redemption. And I think that once they die, they lose the ability to redeem themselves. And that, to me, is the tragedy.
So how they commit...
Well, let Reveler jump in here, and then please, let's retire this thing. Go ahead, Reveler. Reviler.
But thank you. I know there are other people on the phone. But yeah, basically, a lot of this is just, look, it's kind of a desire for general human compassion, especially in the Western world, right? The idea of celebrating somebody's death is sadistic, horrific, evil, and unconscionable until it's somebody you hate. Because even the nicest, sweetest little girl or whoever, right, has somebody that they hate, whether it's Hitler, whether it's Stalin, whether it's some child rapist piece of garbage that they'd like to see flayed alive.
I don't hate anyone.
Why not a butthole cop? Really quickly, I'm a cross between a libertarian and a fascist, as Aria knows, and she does an excellent job at her show called A Freedom Before Your Show. But she knows my issue with the police is this. They do some amount of good, kind of like you said, Mark, but they also do all these other things. I don't care about the freedom of people. I care about the freedom of my people, which is primarily European people. I'm a racist. I'm an anti-Semite, but I don't hate all of anybody. I'm a sectarian monarchist. So cops are buttholes because some kid that has mushrooms or marijuana or something, he's required to put in a cage like an animal, right? So he's aggressing against him. Meanwhile, low IQ scum in all these inner cities and so forth can do what they please and be protected. That's my issue with them.
Well, all I can say to that is, oh my God. Thanks for the call, Rev. 855-450-3733. There you go, ladies. That's your side. David.
That's not my side.
He's a half libertarian, half fascist, whatever the hell that even means. He might just be confused or in the middle of a conversion or something.
Well, he's more libertine than libertarian.
That might be. I don't know the guy. I just know he just announced he was a fascist on the radio. I mean, because what Mark was describing is not what a cop is. My problem with cops is not they take tax money. I don't celebrate the deaths of librarians and mailmen. They take tax money too. I largely don't care. Do I have a philosophical problem with it? Yeah, but I just really don't care. Mailmen aren't going around shooting people.
It mace a few dogs. You don't like dogs that much either, so go ahead.
But dogs are... it's not a common thing. I would imagine that if you go around as a mailman macing dogs, you would get in trouble.
Probably.
Whereas if you go around as a cop shooting people, not so much. So the problem is the job description of aggression. Yes, there would be security forces in a free market, but a cop is the furthest thing. It's like the opposite of, it's an anti-security force. It destroys security where it already is and doesn't really provide any elsewhere.
You're talking about net security. So, to some extent, police provide some level of security. And, if your house gets broken into, it's the police you have to call. And it's because the insurance company wants the report or whatever.
Yeah, but they're not going to do anything about it. They're going to write about it. I can blog about it myself,
In some cases, they will do something about it. At some point, they'll arrest a guy, and he may confess to a whole bunch of burglaries in the area or, something.
I think more often than not, they don't. The report just gets filed away, and that's the end of it. I think in most cases.
I was in prison with some burglars, and usually what the cops do is come in and say, all right, this is where you live. This is where your burglaries occurred. This is where a whole bunch of other burglaries occurred that are in this sphere. These are your burglaries, aren't they? Don't make me go and look for some fingerprints or whatever, because we'll pin these on you. So you confess to this 150 burglaries here. We'll give you, 3 to 5, whatever it is that they say they're going to give, which is the same amount they would have gotten if they'd have done 25 burglaries.
Well, yeah, and because cops can't make plea deals, that would be something only a prosecutor could say with any kind of authority or accuracy.
Yeah, they kind of work together.
Yeah,
to get to get their confessions.
They work together to lie to suspects, but yeah.
Well, there you go. The number 855-450-3733. 855-450 free here on Free Talk Live. You can call in with your opinion. I'm sure some of you have it. 855-450-3733. It's Free Talk Live. You're welcome to call in and talk about whatever's on your mind. It's Mark with you.
Aria.
And Melanie.
855-450-3733. It's 855-450 free. Bitcoin.com is your premier source for everything Bitcoin related. With the surge in Bitcoin pricing going on right now over the last couple of weeks, lots of people are expecting, experts, people are predicting. I don't know. I'm predicting, but, I don't go on these limbs too much. I realize that I'm fallible and I make mistakes, but I do expect to see a rise in Bitcoin price, significant rise, a rise worth paying attention to, certainly over 20% in the next 2 months. What's going to get you that kind of return? Not very much. But you probably should find out more about this interesting asset class at Bitcoin.com. It can help you choose a Bitcoin wallet. It can help you buy Bitcoin. It can show you where to spend your Bitcoin. They've even got games you can go play with your Bitcoin. You can get free Bitcoin over at Bitcoin.com. You just go to free.bitcoin.com if you want free Bitcoins. You want games.bitcoin.com. The latest news, engage with the community at their forum. It's Bitcoin.com. And I think you're going to be hearing a lot about Bitcoin here in the near future. Again, it's another rise. It's a rise of the many times dead asset class, Bitcoin. Go to Bitcoin.com. Let's go to Thunder calling in from Arizona. Thunder, you're on Free Talk Live.
How are you?
All's well. What's on your mind?
Well, what's on my mind is what y'all think about this. The cops have to have their own flag now. I don't get that part. It's disgusting and repulsive that they would take our American flag that stands for everything we are, that many people shed their blood for, and disgrace our American flag and put their own colors on it to represent themselves. Why can't they have some creativity and come up with their own flag if they want to have a flag? Why do they gotta desecrate on ours?
I think that a lot of people feel like you do. I'm of the opinion that is the flag's got a whole set of rules around it. right? I'm not saying that those rules necessarily have any weight in my mind, but they should to people who, like cops and firefighters. Firefighters have their own flag too, mind you. They do the basically the same thing with a red stripe.
Yeah, they have exactly. They have the red stripe instead of the black and blue one.
Do you get upset when people use American flag napkins and things like that?
It makes, yeah, I do. Why? I don't think. Because I just don't think it's. Oh, you mean like for 4th of July parties and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm all cool with that because it has our colors on it. It has our.
That seems more
red,
disrespectful to me. Like, I'm going to wipe this barbecue and cupcake on the flag versus I'm going to tweak it and make it more like me. I mean, I don't care about either one of them, but that, like, one of those just seems inherently more disrespectful.
I'm
than the
offended
other.
if it's bad barbecue.
Yeah, right.
Being from Memphis, as am I.
Right. There's a lot of bad barbecue in this world.
Yeah, but hey, I'm out at Lake Havasu, Arizona right now with most of you Minnesotan home peoples over there where they come for the winter months and camp out around here. 97 degrees today, sitting on the lake in the
My
shade
goodness.
under the trees. Oh, you'd be loving it.
Well, I don't know. 97 seems hot, but out there, 97 isn't as hot as it is in Florida. 97 and hot in Florida is stifling, but in the desert, when it's nice and dry, it doesn't hit you as hard. You probably should wear sunscreen, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Thanks for the call, Thunder.
Nice talking to you. Yeah, it was nice talking to you. Peace out.
Yep. So what do you think about? What do you guys think about the flags themselves? These police flags with the blue stripe on them, or the firefighter flags with the blue stripe? I mean,
you haven't seen my
I care exactly
picture that
zero.
sort of went viral on Facebook.
I don't know.
So it was back when I was still on Grindr, right? And this guy messaged me saying, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he ended up having a thin blue line flag behind him. So I responded to him, "No thanks, I'm not into subs," meaning submissive people. Because that's what it is to me. The flag is a total joke. It's a bootlicker flag. But to me, it's not because they desecrated the American flag or anything like that. It's just stupid. It's a gang emblem.
I think it sort of came out at the time when Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee during the Super Bowl thing, and it was intended to catch that wave. And there are folks like Thunder here that are definitely offended by it. So it kind of split I'm not saying it split it in half, but it split the folks that agree and disagree. And it left a lot of Americans feeling like this is a look. I don't have to agree or disagree. It left a lot of Americans feeling like it was an anti-black flag too. By anti-black, I mean anti-black American, African American. That's a terminology people will understand. I don't use it. I don't like it, but I like the term black. It's just easier for me.
Sure.
But the guy, my best friend, I was a best man at his wedding. He's black, and his brother-in-law put up this flag at their place. They live on a ranch and have several houses there. And
a police flag?
Yes. I think he just got it in the mail or something. And, yeah, we like police or whatever. But
you just get flags in the mail? It's a thing? I didn't know you just...
I think that's what they did. Well, they probably donate to the local,
okay.
Police union or something.
They called me today. I hung up with them.
And... so my friend Julian, he's a little offended by this flag that goes up, and he has it taken down, and whatever. But I'm just saying there are people in America that feel this way. So consider that, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to David calling in from New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, first of all, I think at Burning Man there's lots of heavy RVs that go in there.
Oh yeah,
take RVs, yeah. And they probably can't find too many dry lake beds that are private land to use. They kind of need that dry lake bed to do the style they like to do.
Well, they can't find private land that meets those qualifications because the federal government confiscated and took ownership using guns of all of the land out there.
Why couldn't they just use land that wasn't a dry lake bed?
Pardon?
Why couldn't they use land that wasn't a dry lake bed?
The dry lake bed it's perfectly flat. It's perfectly level and smooth, and you can drive everywhere without not even a single stone. No obstacle. So it's kind of.
What about the salt flats? I've heard of this place. Cars go out there and get their top speeds.
Bonneville Salt Flats.
Yeah.
Salt Lake City. Yeah. They could do that too, but then that's not private land either. I don't believe.
Government land too.
I'm sure it's probably BLM, just like the other.
It's a big nation. They may have to come up with some solutions.
Yeah. And Sarah, there were 700 incidents, so whatever an incident is when there's a work zone and vehicles driving through it. There were 700 incidents, 80 injuries, and 4 fatalities in that time period.
That's regarding flagger people in New Mexico that do the flagging work. So there were 700 incidents. Yeah, who knows what an incident means? Just somebody rolling through, not paying attention. Who knows what that could possibly mean? It's
it wasn't just flagging. It was the entirety of work zone, not just flagging, not just flaggers. But anyway, the Mark, you had said that guys, one of the areas that guys just get shortchanged on regarding child support and other custody issues.
Yeah, David, I want to talk to you about that here in just 1 second if you hold the line. 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. Or you can use the Discord lines at discord.freetalklive.com.
Did you know you can legally exit the U.S. federal income tax system? Well, it's true, and thousands of American nationals are doing it. The 16th Amendment and the Internal Revenue Code are legal, but only in a limited jurisdiction. This is the basis behind the voluntary nature of the income tax. Learn the exit strategy provided by Congress. Find out more by visiting weissparis.com and watch our numerous videos. That's WEISS Paris.com.
Talk Live. You can call in, talk about whatever you want to talk about. It's Mark with you.
Aria.
And Melanie.
And we were talking in the previous, earlier in the show. We were talking about, some of the issues surrounding family court and the ways that guys don't do so well at the end of it all. I don't know that I think that there's that many commensurate problems for women in divorce. Although, if you listen to stories, I'm sure some of them have the complaints or whatever. But usually the complaints come with how he behaved inside the marriage, as opposed to what the ruling itself and how they got screwed out of things. I don't know. That's how I view it, but David wants to talk about that here in just a moment. I want to tell you about ForkFest 2019. You should start planning now to attend. You can join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, libertarians from June the 13th to June the 18th for ForkFest 2019 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. I'll be there with Free Talk Live. Ian will also. It'll be a lot of fun. Ladies, are you coming to ForkFest?
I'll be there for Porkfest, but not
Porkfest. Not going to make Forkfest.
Yeah, I'm not camping when I'm 7 months pregnant.
Congratulations. Forkfest is a fork of other camping parties in the woods. That's Porkfest, Aria just mentioned. You're invited to come create whatever experience you'd like others to have, or just camp. Forkfest is decentralized, which means no one's in charge, so it's up to you to create whatever happens, or you can simply relax and go camping with other liberty lovers. More information and connect with the folks that are putting it all together, the unofficial Telegram chat and the ForkFest forum. Visit forkfest.party. It's forkfest.party. Back to David calling in from New Mexico. David, you're back on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, commenting on the things I heard you say when you're talking about that, when you say that the men getting shortchanged, I thought we were supposed to be equal. I thought, equal rights for men, women, black, white, et cetera, et cetera. So if apparently we're not equal, as this seems to be the case, for instance, when somebody gets pregnant and there's a baby created and the baby pops out, I don't recall hearing the people in the hospital standing around saying, okay, now, so who'd like to take the baby home? And who'd like to pay? Same with the court, and same with the just general consensus in the population. They're programmed to automatically assume that the woman's going to take the baby home. Why is that?
Probably because maternity is easier to figure out than paternity.
Yeah, but I mean, in this big bad world where we're compassionate and sensitive and all that, and we have a 14th Amendment. And for the last, for the entirety of my life, there has been this ongoing argument about equality for, between sexes, genders, races, religions, et cetera, et cetera. where there seems to be an inequality here. If we're starting with the presumption, that the child's going to be born and it's going to go home with the woman, I think that's kind of a blatant 14th Amendment violation right there.
Well, the women, there is certainly an inequality to it, because the women have a biological feature called a womb that allows them to carry that child for 9 months. The reason it's assumed they're going to take the child home is because they have been keeping that child with them throughout the previous 9 months.
Right, but my counter argument to that is, okay, so the child pops out, and then the next day you walk into a courtroom, and in the courtroom they hit the man with what's presumed to be half of the cost of raising the child. So what, if the woman's been carrying it for 9 months, and so therefore she's going to take it home and keep it, why is all of a sudden half of the responsibility of upkeep going to be on the man if the woman is going to take the new car home with her?
I don't know this, but I do know that I've met plenty of guys, a small handful, but how many are you going to meet that are going to have a conversation with like this, where they don't have to pay, but they also have no rights at all. I don't know how they managed to get that particular arrangement, but it exists.
Yeah, well, there's many ways to end up in that situation. It just depends on there's 3, 4, half a dozen different variables or 100 different variables that could end up in a situation like that. But to keep the conversation more simple, we're talking about the ones that happen more frequently. And so I would say there's an equality issue, because nowhere in the beginning of the process, like as soon as the woman is pregnant, the court is involving themselves. As soon as someone files a petition, or even if the state files a petition, the court is involving themselves. So why isn't the court smart enough to think, aha, there's a pregnancy here, we're going to get involved, so I guess we should get involved now and decide, if the man wants to, mister, do you want to just write a check, or do you want to help care for the baby? No, nobody ever asks that.
Well, the pregnant woman asks that.
Say again?
The pregnant woman asks that.
What
question.
if she doesn't?
Does she?
Well, that's my issue with monogamous relationships, is that things like that are often just implied or just understood rather than actually clearly expressed.
Let me give a real life example. There's a first name only. There's a woman named Rachel, and when I was in my 20s, we were hanging out, and one day I got a phone call from her. She said she was pregnant, and it's my kid, and she was kind of hostile. And she was 7.5 months pregnant, and I had a plane ticket. 2 days after that phone call, my plane ticket was taking me to Europe to go live there. So, and turns out that she didn't bother to call me and inform me until she was 7.5 months pregnant, and it appears, well, in fact, I know that the only reason that she bothered to inform me then was because the man was leaning on her, because the man was giving her, because she was pregnant, because I harmed her by getting her pregnant, she now had a free house, she had free food, she had a free college education, she had free furniture, she had free health care, she had free child care, or I should say paid for.
So she was put up. She was put up to make this phone call in order to get you to pay for some of the stuff that she had gotten from the government, right?
Yeah, so there's 2 points there. One, nobody ever even bothered to inform me, and forget about me for a second. Back to something else you said. I disagree with you. I believe that a child has every right in the world to know who their parents are. And the easiest one to argue is nowadays we have all kinds of helpful health care that depends on
if a child has the right to know who their parents are, then I have the right to know who my biological parents are.
That's correct.
But no one will tell me.
That's because they're screwing you. They should tell you. You should have, and actually at this point in your life, if you filed a petition in court, they would probably give you that information.
Adoptions are usually sealed.
So they wouldn't give you...
I would argue that a child has the right to attempt to find out who their parents are.
Well, I would flat out argue that a child has a right to know who their parents are, period, in this day and age, because it's a life or death matter. Because if you have if there's genetic stuff that could benefit you in a life-saving manner, if there's the possibility of tissue transfers that could save your life, if only you knew where your related siblings and mother, father.
Oh, wait, so are you saying you have a right to tissue transfers from your relatives?
Did I say that?
Well, I'm asking if you said that because that's the only way that would be relevant. Like, I can know where a match is. That doesn't get me the transfer.
You are wrong, counselor. I didn't say you have the right to those tissues. I said you have a right to know where they are so that you could attempt to negotiate some help. The person doesn't have any obligation to give you their tissues, but who knows? They might want to help you if only you knew who they were so that you could ask them. And so I think in this day and age that you have the right to know those things.
Thank you for making the argument for it, David. I appreciate the call. 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. Or if you want to sound great, you can use the Discord lines. It's discord.freetalklive.com. You can go there, download the app, call on your phone, and the quality's a lot better. Discord.freetalklive.com. It's Free Talk Live, and you are free to call in here on Free Talk Live. Phones are still open, 855-450-3733. It's 855-450-FREE. Mark with you.
Aria.
And Melanie.
I want to thank Ryan Lang, who's a silver amplifier for amping Free Talk Live. You go to amp.freetalklive.com, and you too can be an amplifier. We simply ask $5 a month if you've listened to the show for, 6 months and a year, especially on the podcast, and you like the content, please consider supporting what we do here on Free Talk Live, which is to bring the message of liberty to almost 200 radio stations across the country, just like Ryan Lang did. amp.freetalklive.com. Let's go to Jacob calling in from New Mexico. Jacob, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi, how y'all doing?
All's well. What's on your mind?
Response to the police flag.
Yes.
I personally don't feel like it's a desecration or an offense to the flag. I drive a semi-truck, and on my truck I've got the American flag, and right below it I've got the flag that supports the police and the flag that supports the firefighters.
I suppose if you're going to put it, then if you're going to have them, they should be beneath the flag according to sort of the flag code, I believe is what it's called. So I suppose that makes some sense. All right, go ahead.
Right.
May I ask why?
I personally, I'm actually from Kentucky. We had a police officer who got killed.
Sure.
So that's the main reason why I have it, in support and in memory of him.
Would not an in memory of sticker be more appropriate?
Well, it's my personal opinion. I don't feel like it's a desecration or disrespect to the flag because it's not as if they've taken the true color and replaced one of the red stripes. The flag is grayed out. And I personally feel like it's not a big deal. It's First Amendment,
If people can have flags, nowadays, if people can have flags on their shirts and flags on napkins, as we mentioned, and
sandal flags, which is just
I've seen, flag
interesting.
Sandal flags, that's interesting, right? Flip flops that are flags.
If you could wear a pair of boxers,
yep,
with an American flag on it.
Tommy Hilfiger made some back in the 90s.
Exactly. And, my First Amendment right doesn't mean that because you're offended, this, that, whatever,
that I'm supposed to care.
You see a lot of days nowadays, people lose jobs because they voiced their opinion. They said something that someone didn't agree with because they're offended. People lose jobs. People get sued and stuff like that. It's, when did our First Amendment rights go away to appease people who feel offended?
Well,
First
Amendment's a funny thing, right? Like the First Amendment only exists on public property, really, right? Like, so you can say whatever you want on your property, and obviously they can't do too much to you other than your employer's got to decide whether or not they want to be with you. But the First Amendment and your employer doesn't really count to me because, if, for instance, I had a host here on Free Talk Live that liked to go on Twitter and use the N-word, I should be able to fire him.
Well,
certainly.
Jacob, there's some kind of audio issue. I really do appreciate you calling in tonight. Maybe I got you back. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I've got bad signal. I'm driving to South Dakota right now.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, that's my opinion right there. So
Thanks.
I'm going to let you guys go because I don't want to lose signal and cut you guys off.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for the call, Jacob. Appreciate it. 855-450-3733. You know, I'm not a big fan of flags generally. I mean, the libertarian crowd tends not to be.
Yeah, we're probably the worst people to ask. So what do you think about the U.S. flag?
Well, he didn't. Jacob did not call in to ask.
Well, right, but
I thought it was fun to light
did.
on fire and dry hump at Porkfest.
I mean, I don't even care enough about it. Like, I have no desire to go desecrate some flags either. It's just kind of, it's at a solid 0.
Be careful desecrating flags. Those things aren't made of actual fabric. That's plastic, and if it drips on you, it's like getting napalm. It's like the flag will get you back. So, just saying.
That is good to know.
People who want to burn flags, whatever you want to do to them, it's not that great.
I mean, I respect that the symbol means something to a lot of people, but the symbol to me means nothing. So I have no respect for it whatsoever. And I think with a lot of these people is the symbol that it's supposed to represent, that it actually doesn't, but that they have convinced themselves that it does. To
me, a flag is a war banner. Traditionally, that's what they were. And I'm a peacenik. I believe that the vast majority of the wars that have existed in human history and the ones in U.S. history could have been avoided, and that had they been avoided, America or the world would have been better off. That wars are just, they used to be chest beating, and now they're basically big corporations figuring out how they're going to use your tax dollars and your children's lives to enrich themselves. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being a corporation and, doing all that stuff. No problem with that. Just don't use my tax dollars to get what you want. I'm not saying there doesn't need to be a standing army. Maybe there does. That's a completely different argument. However, the standing army as it has been employed throughout U.S. history, I can make an argument against just about every war, but certainly pretty easily about the ones over the course of the last 6 or 7 decades.
Absolutely.
So to me, the flag has become a way of just sort of rubber stamping everything that the liars and thieves in Washington, D.C. do, and that we're not asking enough questions in probably the most important area. War is extraordinarily costly from a debt and tax standpoint. It is costly in the standpoint of lives. You say you support the troops. But supporting the troops doesn't mean sending them to foreign lands to die for bullcrap.
No, and it's really hard to support the war and support the troops at the same time, I would imagine.
It's really hard to not support the war and support the troops, too. So,
see, I happen to be for the war, but against the troops.
You're for the war and against the troops? That's silly.
It was a joke.
Yeah.
It's the least silly option, though, I think.
Well, to be against the war and for the troops is it's like a nearly impossible fence-straddling position that, in many cases I'm forced to take, right? I'm for the troops in so much as I don't want innocent life wasted. I don't want people sent on dumb missions to do dumb things. But I don't want people lied to and sold a false bill of goods in so much as they the Veterans Administration. It's just look, the veterans are constantly complaining about how they're not getting taken care of, and yet still young men and women continue to sign up for the military. Presumably,
a lot of them have no choice as far as vehicles of lifting themselves out of economic poverty go.
They feel like they don't.
That's better.
I mean,
and that's the boot on their neck that they're enlisting to serve.
I realize the McDonald's uniform isn't nearly as snazzy as a buck private's uniform is, but I mean, you're not gonna die in the dirt in a foreign land for nothing. You're not gonna get some horrifying disease that they don't even figure out what it is all about. Gulf War syndrome is what I'm thinking of here. You're not going to be put in a situation where they're not going to take care of you. And I very much thought about signing up for the military as a young man between the ages of like 17 and 21. I was all for that stuff and certainly would have had circumstances been different. But now looking back, I kind of wonder, how would I have been treated? What would I be thinking about this organization that everybody shows so much reverence for? And I don't want to conflate the U.S. military and the flag, except that everybody who talks great about the flag conflates the U.S. military and the flag, right? So I don't really know what to do about that. I mean, the national anthem's pretty much a war
Yeah, it's
cry.
Basically a question of what the flag represents, and in any real sense, what the American flag represents is U.S. imperialism. So, I mean, the two are just sort of tied together whether we like it or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's a gang sign. It represents the United States federal government. Those are all pieces of the United States federal government. Maybe you like one piece more than the other, but I don't see how you could argue that it represents anything other than the U.S.
I love the Government Accounting Office. Man, I love their reports. They're constantly ripping on the government, how much waste they've got. It's a messy, wasteful organization, and the GAO, they know that's true. God bless the GAO. Check us out at freetalklive.com. Get on our telegram.freetalklive.com, and open up that browser and twitch.freetalk.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. You can help by joining the AMP program for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com and getting perks. That's amp.freetalklive.com.